Hey guys, Jeff Glover here with Glover U. We're starting a new series today, the 7 Steps to 100 Listings. Now first off, let me tell you why I'm doing this. I've been traveling around the country the last probably 6-12 months doing a talk on this exact topic, 7 Steps to 100 Listings. And I felt that I wasn't getting the word out as much as I wanted to. So what I did was I basically took that exact same message, which is essentially a full day class, and I broke it up into, of course, 7 steps, so that didn't change. But you're going to get anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes every Monday moving forward at noon Eastern, those steps. So, of course, I would love for you to attend one of those events. If you want to know how to get it to your area or to your office, you can just reach out to us, and I'd love to do a full day class for you or any of the agents in your office or market center. But this will give you an idea of at least what we're covering in those classes, and I'm going to try to give you as many nuts and bolts as possible with the limited time that we have. Again, this is normally an entire full day class that I'm going to take and break up over the next 7 weeks. So for the next 7 Mondays, noon Eastern time, we're going to cover the 7 steps to 100 listings. Now this isn't just like I was reading some book or going through some of my notes and saying, yeah, this sounds like great material. This is the exact 7 steps that I followed to build my inventory to over 100 listings. And of course, that led to eventually 200 sales, 250, and so on. And so this is the exact plan that I followed myself personally, really up until only a couple years ago, right? Now, obviously, you know, I'm running a big organization, and of course, the work I'm doing with Glover U, so I don't follow this exact schedule that I'm going to share with you today to a T, because I've got other obligations today. But for years and years, when we were going from 37 transactions to 100 transactions to 200 transactions, all the way up until about 400 or 500 transactions, this is the exact plan that I was following. And oh, by the way, this is the exact plan that I'm sharing with our associates today. So any of our associates who join JGA, this is what I'm walking them through. So 7 steps to 100 listings in 1 year. We're going to start with step 1 today, which I like to get this one out of the way first because it's everyone's least favorite topic, and that is what is called getting the most out of your day, which essentially is a fancy title for time management. Now, I'm sure that I've mentioned time management. Anyone that's watching it now is probably looking at other things that they could be doing, or what, you know, maybe what's for lunch. If you're on the East Coast, hey, it's a great time for lunch. I promise you, you're going to walk away with some awesome stuff in the next 20-30 minutes that you'll be able to apply to your business and start utilizing right away. So let's jump in. So 7 steps to 100 listings. Step 1, getting the most out of your day. Here's the challenge. Here's what I recognize in real estate. Okay, when you join a real estate company or you join a real estate team, nobody says you need to do this at this time, you need to do this at this time, and you need to do this throughout the day. It's basically, here's a desk, here's a phone, here's our manual, here's some videos, good luck. And so the reason for that is because most of the leaders and the trainers in the industry today were never actually really taught how to manage their time. The reason for that is because if they were actually taught how to manage their time, then a lot of managers and traders and leaders, trainers and leaders in the industry today would probably quit. Because why do people get into the real estate business? They get into the real estate business for 2 things, freedom and flexibility. And when those 2 things go away, people start saying, well, why did I get into this business? I didn't get into this business to have a boss. I didn't get into this business to have a schedule. Why am I being held accountable to my schedule? Because the best of the best do hold themselves accountable to a schedule. Think of CEOs of major companies. That most of them have schedules that are built in 15-minute increments. Some of them starting at 4:30 in the morning, and every 15 minutes they have a new obligation. It's no different when you're a real estate agent. You are the CEO of your own company. You are the CEO of your database. You are the CEO of your business. So you should have one too. So if you're wondering, well, why is this not a big deal in my office, or why isn't this a big deal for the agents around me, or I don't see anyone else really sticking to a schedule? It's because, quite frankly, no one was really taught how to do it, because the industry leaders were never taught how to do it, because they never had to be accountable to a schedule. Why? Because they quit. Because it goes against, again, the 2 reasons why people get into the business, for the freedom and the flexibility. So what I found over the years in working with real estate agents is the second reason why we struggle. So the first reason we struggle is because nobody teaches us this stuff. The second reason is because we don't have a high motivation. Whenever I meet with agents and say, okay, you know, Jeff, I got the skills down, I got this part down, I got my presentation down, but I'm really struggling with my schedule. Here's what it always comes back to. It always comes back to their motivation. And what I've found is that the higher the motivation of the agent and the team and the company, the greater chance people are sticking to a schedule. The lower the motivation, the greater chance the schedule's going in a desk drawer. So we have to always force ourselves to stay motivated in this business because we don't get immediate gratification. Right? There's a lot of sales businesses where there's immediate gratification. Somebody walks into a store, buys something, you hit tender, you get paid a commission as a salesperson. Somebody comes and buys a car, they walk out with it that hour, you get paid on that when that deal closes, and that deal closes right away. In this business, everything we do is in 60 to 90 day cycles. So my activities of today won't show up for 60 to 90 days from now. So it's a lot harder for us to stick to a schedule because we don't get the immediate gratification of sticking to a schedule. So how do we stay motivated in this business? Well, this is a completely separate discussion, which we'll cover later, but I would challenge you to take a look at what's on your current vision board. What do you have in front of you at all times? What are you keeping around you to keep you excited? And don't just put together dreams of things that you want to do. A vision board, specific things you want to do, places you want to go, things you want to accomplish, things you want to do with your family, specific expense, how much it's going to cost, when you want to do it by. You have to put a deadline on it, right? So I'm not just saying plaster a poster board up with a bunch of cool things on it, actual things that you want to do or that you want to accomplish with costs associated to each and the timeline of when you want them done. The more specific you are in a vision board, the greater chance you'll have a higher motivation. The less specific you are in a vision board, the less motivated you'll be, which means the less motivated you'll be to sticking to a schedule. So check your vision board. If it's been a while since you've updated it, get it updated. If you've accomplished some things on there, leave them on there, cross them off, put a red pen on it, whatever, to show that you've accomplished it, but put some new stuff on there. It's important. So let's talk about time management for a second. I tell agents all the time, when you join JGA, and of course, for those of you that are watching with Glover U, you got to break up your day into 3 parts, all right? So there's the morning, which is from the time you get up, essentially, until lunchtime. There's the afternoon, which is essentially after lunchtime and, up until 4 or 5 o'clock, right? Before dinner time or before you go on appointments or before, you get energized for showtime or money time, as I call it. And then, of course, there's showtime. Showtime is essentially from 4:30 to 6 or from 5 to 7. Anytime when people start getting home from work and they want to meet with you for a buyer consultation or a listing presentation. So to break it down to the simplest form, essentially our day is 3 parts, right? The morning, the afternoon, and the late afternoon or early evening, which is showtime in the real estate business. So let's first start with the morning. I tell our agents all the time, if you want to be successful in this business and you don't want to spend a lot of time on time management, just master your morning and everything else will fall into place. I probably say that at least once a week in our offices. Master the morning and everything else will fall into place. Why is it important to master the morning? Well, for a couple reasons. Number one, you have higher energy in the morning. Now, I get it. From time to time, I have people say, well, I'm more of a night person. Regardless, you have higher energy in the morning if you actually get yourself disciplined to waking up at the same time every day, which means, by the way, your day starts the night before. So what time did you go to bed the night before? Also in the morning, why it's important to master the morning is we have less distractions. Right? A lot of the co-op agents haven't shown up yet. A lot of the staff hasn't come into the office yet. Generally speaking, you have less distractions. Less has gone, you haven't gotten the call that your kid is sick from school and you got to go pick them up because they haven't gotten to school yet or they've only been there for a few hours. Generally speaking, you're going to have less distractions in the morning, which is why it's important that you master the morning schedule. Early bird gets the worm. You've heard that before. It's especially true when you're doing prospecting. For me, it was always the same. I had to be on the phones at 7:59 a.m. and maybe 7:59 in 30 seconds. I'm dialing by the time the clock is striking 8 o'clock. I wanted to have the early bird that gets the worm. I wanted to benefit from that. Another reason why we master the morning. You get the lead generation out of the way. You don't have to worry about it the rest of the day. If you do it for an hour or two in the morning, you don't have to think about it the rest of the day, right? Now, I'll share with you in just a bit what my schedule actually was. I'll go hour by hour of my exact schedule during those growth years. But the reality is what you'll find is if I didn't have an appointment to go on, I went right back to the lead gen because I already had it blocked off in my schedule anyways. Now, it wasn't just the phone prospecting, and again, I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Also, one thing I know about the morning, when you're doing lead generation in the morning especially, people are more likely to talk business with you because remember, they're not distracted yet, right? Not a whole lot has gone wrong in their day. Not a whole lot of stress has been placed on their plate yet. So when I'm talking to people at 8 or 9 o'clock, there's generally less stress that they're experiencing. If I'm talking to someone at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, around dinner time, well, they might have a little bit more stress or they may be less likely to take my conversation very positively because they've got a lot going on. In the morning, they don't have a lot going on either. Now, granted, there's stuff happening. Don't get me wrong, but there's less stressors in the morning than there are as the day goes on. And then I always bring this up, and I put this in my notes. For for years and years, and we got rid of it just a few years ago, we always had a no copier rule in our office. And we had, as you guys know, I'm affiliated with Keller Williams Realty, but we had a jar. And basically, if anyone used the copier before 12 noon, they had to put $20 in the jar, right? And that $20 went to KW Cares. Well, the theory on that is, okay, why would you need to be by the copier at 8, 9, 10, 11 in the morning? Why would you need to be there? Okay, oh, I've got an offer I have to print out. Well, that offer's not going anywhere, right? The offer came in overnight. It's going to be just as good at 8 a.m. as it's going to be at 12:30. So we implemented a no copier rule, which then led to a no administration rule. And I would literally walk around our office. If I saw one of our agents printing something off or looking over an email on their computer, I'd say, hey, what are you doing? It's not going anywhere. That offer's going to be there at 11:30. That offer's going to be there at 1 o'clock. Stop that. Knock that out. Knock that off. It's getting you off your schedule. So I'm a big believer that if you master your morning and you're just strict with that part of the day, everything else will fall into place. Now, I'm going to give you the afternoon and the rest of the day, but really, if you were to just say, you know what, I want to start with just one thing, start with mastering the morning schedule. That was a big thing for me. So let's talk about the afternoon. So, and again, I'll get into in a moment what my schedule was so you know specifically hour by hour what I was doing. And quite frankly, I was doing it all the way up until the last couple of years, until we started Glover U, until I started working in other businesses. So the afternoon, I always reserve the afternoon for administration. And I start off the thought on this is, what is your average dollar per hour? So here's how you determine whether you should be spending a lot of time in admin or a little time in admin. Now, if you're going to do a little time in admin, you're probably going to have to hire help. How do you determine when it's time to hire help? We're going to talk about that in a second. So what is your average dollar per hour? First things first, I'm going to give you an example of how to calculate it. It's pretty simple. Okay, you work on average 45 hours a week. And let's say you take a few weeks off for vacation, a few weeks off for holidays, and a few weeks off for our retreats and events. You're working 45 weeks a year. 45 hours times 45 weeks a year is about 2,000 hours. Okay, it's about 2,000 hours a year. All right, so then you take your taxable income, let's just say 2017, last year's taxable income, and you divide it by 2,000. Okay, that's how many hours you worked in 2017. If you're working 45 hours a week and you're working 45 weeks a year. So let's just say, to keep math simple, because I'm not that smart when it comes to math, if you made $100,000 of taxable income in 2017, you divide that by 2,000 hours, your average dollar per hour is $50 an hour. So I then look at it and say, okay, if I'm averaging $50 an hour, how much time am I spending doing work that I could potentially pay someone $20 or $30 an hour, or $15 an hour, or $22 an hour, whatever that number is. And of course, when you get to the level of 40, 50, 60 plus transactions, you'll probably have to look at hiring an assistant. I know many of you watching this already have a big team or are part of a big team that has staff, and maybe that's not a huge concern of yours right now. Even if it's not a huge concern of yours right now, you have to know what your average dollar per hour is, so that way you know how much time to spend in each activity. So if I go through the math, and I do this every year for myself, by the way, because guess what? When I'm putting together my ideal schedule, I'm looking at two things. What are things that are going in my schedule that are increasing my average dollar per hour? And what are the things that are in my schedule that are decreasing my average dollar per hour? So if I know my number's $50 or I know my number's $100, and I look at my schedule and say, okay, that's going to improve my average dollar per hour. I need to keep that in there. Or that's not. This is a regular scheduled activity that's not improving my average dollar per hour. I got to figure out a way to delegate that so I can improve my average dollar per hour. I'm looking at that every single year. So figure out what your average dollar per hour is. Then, of course, don't hire an assistant until you're at least doing 40, 50 transactions. I hear that from agents all the time. Oh my gosh, I'm so busy right now. I got 12 new listings. I got 13 pendings. I need an assistant. No. Once you've completed 40 to 50 transactions a year, then it would be time to maybe consider doing it. Now, I know many of you are on teams. A lot of agents on teams can do 60 to 70 transactions a year without hiring an assistant. So, and many of you that are watching obviously are probably doing several hundred transactions, and you might have a big staff right now. But the rule of thumb for our agents, for our associates at JGA, and of course anyone that's working with us at Glover U, is get around 40 to 50 transactions a year annually. Okay, don't just say you're busy, because by the way, the number one thing I say to agents when they come to me and say, hey, I think I need an assistant, I'm really busy right now, is no, you don't need an assistant, we need to work on your time management. Hands down, that's the number one reason why people think they're busy or they feel busy. And by the way, they're busy. Don't get me wrong. Taking 12 listings in a month and having 11 pendings or whatever any number is around those numbers, that's definitely busy. But it becomes a matter of time management and how well you manage your time versus needing someone to assist you. Once you're at 50 closed transactions a year, 60 closed transactions a year, we can talk about hiring an assistant. But don't take on that expense until you first learn how to manage your time. And then, of course, I have wrote down here key point on hiring an assistant. Only hire an assistant when you know you're going to spend the afternoons lead generating and presenting. When you know you're going to spend the afternoons in activities that will raise your average dollar per hour, when you know you're going to do that with your time, that's when it's for sure time to hire an assistant. But if you know you're not going to be productive of that with your time, may not be the best time to hire an assistant. So obviously keep that in mind. Finally, the last part of the day, right? So the morning from the time we get up until lunchtime, the afternoon is basically after lunchtime until 4 or 5 o'clock. We've got Showtime, right? So I like to call it Showtime because I believe that you need to flip the switch at the door. You need to pretend that the curtains are opening, the lights are on, and that you are putting on a performance. So when I think about the afternoon, late afternoon, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I need to get my mind right so that I'm mentally prepared to go out and present. So what am I doing to get my mind right in the afternoon? Because for a lot of us, it's like everybody's winding down. People are leaving work, people are going home. What am I going to do to mentally recharge? For me, and you'll see it in my schedule, I work out in the middle of the day, and that kind of breaks up my day into two parts. Some of you may listen to audio that is of great speakers, trainers, mentors, people that have gone before us. I know for years and years, I always listened to Mike Ferry TV and Mike Ferry audio and anything I could get my hands on from Mike Ferry because everything that he taught was positive and it was about moving in the right direction. Obviously, things like this that we're putting out there, this is stuff you're going to want to go back and listen to and rewatch time and time again. But you have to mentally recharge yourself for the Showtime. Otherwise, when you show up at their door, if you lack energy and you lack enthusiasm, you're not getting that signed contract. So it's almost like you have to flip the switch at the door, which one of these quotes on the wall back here says flip the switch at the door. Why is that? You have to pretend as if it doesn't matter what happened to you during that day, what happened to you on the way over, you flip the switch at the door, it's showtime. It's go time. I'm ready to go. I'm putting on a performance, right? So I'm suiting up and I'm showing up professionally and ready to go. Next, schedule your appointments in the afternoon, especially back to back, okay? We call this batching, all right? Batching is effective because you're in the zone. So I'm not going to go on a presentation at 3 o'clock and then come back to the office and do some work and then go on one at 6. I want to go on one at 4 and I want to go on one at 5:30, or I want to go on one at 5 and I want to go on one at 6:30. When you schedule things back to back, you get in a zone. It's actually scientific. You can look it up. It's called batching. And all of a sudden you have a lot of momentum that's on your side. When I schedule something at 2 or 3 and then I have a break in the middle and I go back out, it actually throws you off of your mojo and it throws you out of that zone. So I like to do all of my appointments back to back. I also wrote down in the afternoon or late afternoon, early evening showtime, consider using an hour window if it's going to be during rush hour. So if somebody wants to meet with you at 6 o'clock, you know traffic's going to be bad that time of year or that time of day. Schedule them a 1 hour window. Someone wants to meet with you at 6 o'clock, schedule them from 6 to 7 or from 5:30 to 6:30. That way you have some time to give yourself to be late, and that way you're not actually showing up late. Well, how do I present that to them? Well, it's pretty simple. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, looking forward to seeing you today at 6 o'clock. So we do a 1 hour window because I never know how long the appointment before you is going to last. So I could arrive as early as 5:30 or as late as 6:30. And generally, 99 times out of 100, they're going to say, oh yeah, totally get it, plus rush hour that time, hour, whatever. They're going to understand. So consider using a 1 hour window if it's during rush hour. That always worked for me, especially on Saturdays, which you'll hear my Saturday schedule in just a bit. Finally, the goal is to get in front of someone every single day. Your showtime needs to be showtime every single day. Again, also somewhere on the wall, it says, if I did not set an appointment today or if I did not go out and present today, seriously, what did I accomplish? Because ultimately, that's why we're in this job. Everything we do revolves around getting in front of and presenting to someone. So seriously, if I didn't get out and present to someone today, what did I do? What did I accomplish to move my business forward? Probably not a whole lot. Now, I might have serviced some clients, and I think that's good. You definitely need to provide good customer service. But if I didn't set a new appointment or get out in front of somebody every single day, what did I do to move my business forward in the future? All right, so I'm going to share with you now for the last 10 minutes or so what my typical day looked like when I was going from 0 to 37 transactions and 37 transactions to 102 transactions and then over to 250 to 300 to 400, right? So first things first, I'm not like one of the, I'm not like a lot of the CEOs where they wake up at 4 a.m. or 4:15 or 4:57. Pretty simple guy, I wake up at 6 a.m., right? So it's not this extreme early wake up time. So my plan every day in my schedule is to wake up at 6 a.m. and that becomes a routine. By the way, it's not going to happen easily. If you're number 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 5 a.m., whatever it is, I always encourage our agents to set it back by 15 minutes so you get a little bit out of your comfort zone. And by the way, you can accomplish a lot more each. Think about 15 minutes a day times 300 working days, right? That adds up. It's like adding additional, it's like giving you an extra 5 or 6 business days over your competition. So I would always wake up at 6 a.m. I'm out the door at 7, so I give myself an hour to wake and get ready. I'm out the door at 7. 7:15, I have my first role play of the day. This was for 5-6 years straight, right? So this was only up until the last few years that I had to shift my schedule because obviously I'm focusing on other things. 7:15, I'm role playing. 7:30, I'm in the office. 7:31, I'm late, by the way. In fact, I made a deal with one of the agents in the office. Every year, I wrote him 5, his name's Frank Felt, great guy. I wrote him 5 $100 checks. He wrote, Frank Felt, $100. Frank Felt, $100. $100, $100, $100. 5 $100 checks. He had my permission to cash those at any time if I wasn't in the office by 7:30. So, I can remember times literally rushing to the office. I got my shoes in one hand, my toothbrush, my toothpaste in the other, and I'm getting out of my car and sprinting into the office barefoot because I don't want to lose this $100. And he'd be standing at the back door every time. Just in time, Jeff. Just in time, Jeff. Well, guess what? Every year, Frank cashed all 5 100 of those checks. All right? Because there was definitely times that I was late. And so we cashed all 5 of them. But you know what? That $500 extra accountability caused me to go from, say, 37 to 100 transactions one year. That's when I implemented it, right? So it was a pretty worthwhile investment, I would say. So 7:30 a.m., I'm in the office. 7:32, and still to this day, we still do this. At 7:32, I have accountability call. And on that accountability call, we're tracking 4 things. And by the way, I do this every morning with our team. Every single outside sales associate is on the call. And we track how many people did you talk to the previous day, how many appointments did you set, how many appointments did you go on, and how many contracts did you sign. Think about everything there is that goes on in this business. It really revolves around those 4 things. How many people did you talk to? How many appointments did you set? How many appointments did you go on? And how many contracts did you sign? Every day at 7:32, all of the associates of JGA are on that call and they're reporting what they did the previous day in those 4 categories. And then, of course, they're setting their goal for today. So a typical call may sound like this. Now, before I had JGA, I just found people that went to other events, right? Of course, at the time I was with Coldwell Banker, so I would go to Coldwell Banker events and I would find people that were looking for accountability partners, right? I would go to Mike Ferry events and find people that were looking for accountability partners. Now, you go to a Glover U event, you're going to find people that are looking for accountability partners. It's in our culture. It's what we talk about. And so the call would sound something like this. I'd call, let's just say Mark George, a good friend of mine down in Florida. Hey, Mark, Jeff here. Just so you know, I talked to 32 people yesterday. I set 2 appointments. I went on 1 appointment, and I didn't get a contract signed yet. Mark would say, great, Jeff, what's your goal for today? My goal for today is to talk to 25 people, set 2 appointments, go on 1, and get a contract signed. All right, let's have a great day. And that's it. Similar to the JGA call today. That's what it does. We go through every single associate. It's about a 10-minute call. We're off the call and we're on with our day. So I started every day 7:32 a.m. with an accountability call. 7:45, I would prep. So I'm sorry, 7:15. I think I left this part off. My apologies. At 7:15, on my way in. Yep, I did skip this. So I'm out the door at 7. 7:15, on my way in. I have a 15-minute role play. No, I think I did mention this. Anyways, 15-minute role play. So my goal was to role play Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. I had a different role play partner, different parts of the country. Again, you would find them by going to our events or any events for that matter, KW events, Mike Ferry events. 7:15, I'm role playing. And I'm looking for people from around the country to role play with. I want different personality styles. I want different ages. I want males. I want females. I don't want to role play with the same people that are just like me. 7:15, I'm role playing, and it's a quick 15-minute calls. I go once, they go once, and I'm on to the next. 7:30, as you heard, I'm in the office. Otherwise, I'm losing $100. 7:32, I'm on the accountability call. 7:45, I start preparing for my calls. Now, back in the day, when I went from 37 transactions to 100, I didn't have dialers. I didn't have any of these tools. So I literally had to look up phone numbers one by one. It was a pain in the neck. Now you still probably need a good 10-15 minutes of prepping, just getting your mind right, getting all your numbers in order, prepping for that morning session. And 8 a.m., and really honestly it was about 7:59, I would keep an eye on my cell phone. At 7:59, I would start dialing the first contact. As soon as I start dialing, the cell phone goes on silent, which by the way, my cell phone's always on silent anyways. Flip it upside down. I block out the phone so I'm not seeing any incoming calls. My phone on my desk is on silent. I got a little sticky note that I flip over the top of my phone to cover up the blinking light. I'm in the zone. I am prospecting expireds at 8 a.m. 9 o'clock, I move over to for sale by owners. For sale by owners, you could always call them a little bit later because even today, a lot of them will answer. It doesn't matter what time you call them. I always like to start with the expireds and then go over to the FSBOs. I know some agents say, well, I like to start with FSBOs because I like to be the first one to call them. Fine, doesn't matter. I'm just telling you what I did. At 10 a.m., I would go back into a sales training. Now, of course, back then, I was just role-playing. I would pick up the phone and I would role-play with somebody. Now, of course, we have JGA. It's a little bigger company. So we get together and we do skill training, right? So today, for instance, every single one of us got together for a half hour. We wrote out the pre-qualification script. My point today was, listen, you never know when someone's going to call you back to pre-qualify, so you better have it memorized. So literally, we sat in a room, all of us together, and some people in this room, other people were on our Zoom and our Skype and all that. And we literally just wrote out the pre-qualification script together. I know you're probably thinking, well, that's pretty basic. Yes, but that's how we commit things to memory, and that's how we become great salespeople. So that's been going on for years. The 10 a.m. meeting for us, we just call it a 10 a.m. Back then, I would write out scripts, I would role play with someone, I would chant them out loud. 10:30 to 11:30 is finally when I get around, 10:30 to 11:30, I'm doing lead follow-up. So of course, there's people that I've been prospecting for days or weeks or months or whatever, so I have a little lead follow-up going on that I got to get to. All of that happens between 10:30 and 11:30, and I like to separate those activities because you prospect to fill the funnel, right? Imagine if everyone's walking around with a funnel. You prospect to fill the funnel, and the lead follow-up pushes them through, right? Prospect puts them in, lead follow-up pushes them through. So I'm lead follow-upping with two purposes. One, to set an appointment, or two, to put it back in the lead follow-up folder to follow up with them later. When we get to lead follow-up, we'll talk about some of the rules I followed and the best methods of lead follow-up. Finally, at 11:30, I finally get around to returning my missed calls and checking my email. Now note, I return missed calls, I don't listen to voicemail. You want to do a fast time saver, okay? And you know, don't pass out when I tell you this, but moving forward, I don't want you to ever check a voicemail again. Okay, or when you get to a point where someone else can check your voicemail, fine. Moving forward, I don't want you to ever check a voicemail again. That will save you probably 20 to 30 minutes a day, times 300 working days, times several years. You're going to get multiple business days back. Well, why would you recommend that I don't listen to any voicemails? My recommendation is because of this. It's two reasons. Number one, first of all, most buyers and sellers that want to do business with you, that are anxious to do business with you, they're calling other agents too. So a lot of them won't leave a message. You'll have a missed call from them, but they'll not actually leave you a voicemail. So I like to return all my missed calls because I find a lot of leads in there. And I also find that the leads didn't leave messages. So I call all my missed calls. That's reason number one. Reason number two, if I listen to a voicemail, hey Jeff, this is Joe Bob from Down the Street Realty. I got an offer from you on your property, 123 Main Street. I want to talk to you about it. Okay, great. I listen to the voicemail, I write it down, whatever. I call Bob back. Hey, Bob, this is Joe Bob from Down the Street Realty. I've got an offer on one of your listings. I want to talk to you. They're going to say the same exact thing that they said in the voicemail to you live and in person. So why am I going to listen to the voicemail when I'm going to hear it twice and I know I'm going to return every missed calls? Now, I know some of you saying, well, what about when you're in an elevator, you're doing something? I get it. There's exceptions to the rule. And my hope is that you get to a point where you don't check any of your voicemails. Somebody else checks them for you. But for now, you're better off going through your missed call log every single day than sitting and listening to your voicemail messages. A rule I followed for years, by the way. So 11:30 to noon, I'm going through my missed calls, returning them. I'm also checking email to see if any important emails came in. From 12 to 2, I'm working out, middle of the day. So I do a middle of the day workout because I really want to have a mindset break. Now, of course, you just heard what the entire morning looked like, so it's tiring, right? And it's a little stressful. So I like to have a mindset break from 12 to 2, and I do my workout at lunchtime. Still to this day, I do that. After this recording, I'm going to the gym. Why? Because I get to put my cell phone in my pocket, in the locker. I get to break a sweat. I get to shower again. It's like starting a brand new day. Now for the ladies, because I know I get this all the time when I go out and teach, well, that's a little hard to get ready twice, and that means I got to do my hair twice, and there's no way I can make that work. Well, Do what the ladies of JGA do. Most of them come into the office in their yoga pants and their workout clothes, and they come in and do their lead generation and their lead follow-up, and then around lunchtime or a little bit after lunchtime or maybe a little bit before, they go to the gym, and then they're back by 2 o'clock, suited up, ready to go. So you can still pull it off. You don't have, and I'm sure most of your managers or leaders or whoever is in charge of the office you work out of, I think they'd be totally fine if you said, hey, do you mind if I come in casual and prospect for a few hours, go hit the gym, come in suited up and ready to go. I think they'd be totally fine with that. So from 12 to 2, I'm working out, and by the way, I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. If you have Lifetime Fitnesses or LA Fitness and they've got a cafe, whatever you have near you, if they have a healthy lunch there, eat while you're there. One of the benefits of having Lifetime Fitness in my area is they have a very healthy Life Cafe. So I'm not running to Taco Bell after the gym. I'm just eating right at the gym. So that's why it's a 2-hour block, because I'm getting the workout and the lunch in. And of course, for those of you that pump iron, you know you got to get protein back in your system right away. So there you go. It's right there. From 2 to 3, I return calls, check emails. I'm back in the office. All right, so now I'm serious about returning all of my calls that are important. In the morning, I wouldn't actually be able to get to all my return calls, right? I get to the prospects. So when I'm returning missed calls, I'm looking for the ones that were, that might have called, or it was a phone number, or it expired, or a for sale by owner that is calling me back. I'm looking for those first, right? Any of the co-op agents that have questions on transactions, or past clients or current clients, I still call them back every single day, of course, but those are probably going to wait until the afternoon. That's going to happen between 2 and 3 o'clock, returning phone calls and checking emails. 3 to 5 is really heavy admin time. So this is where I'm negotiating contracts, I'm getting price reductions, I'm pre-qualifying, I'm attending closings, I'm attending inspections. This is really heavy admin time from 3 to 5, and it really could be 2:30 to 4:30 or 2 to 5 or whatever, depending how busy your day is. But having said that, I don't want you going to inspections and closings in the morning, okay? That throws your complete day off, right? If you do a closing in the morning, you're not getting your lead generation in. I used to have a sign in my office that would say, if I do not focus on my morning activities, I do not get paid 90 days from now, right? So every time you sacrifice some sort of lead generation or lead follow-up activity in the morning, you're sacrificing your income 90 days from now. And I say this to our agents all the time because they're like, hey, where are you going? It's 9 o'clock. Well, I've got a closing. I'll be back in time for our 10 a.m. Why do you have a closing at 9 a.m.? It's throwing your entire day off. You're sacrificing your income in the future for income that's already going to happen. It's a closing. It's already going to happen. Schedule at 1 o'clock. Schedule at 2 o'clock. Now I get it. There's exceptions to every rule, but my rule of thumb was all closings, all inspections, all admin-related appointments always happen in the afternoon. And by the way, that's still to this day because I still go to closings, and our staff tells them, hey, if you want Jeff there, it's got to happen between 2 and 4 o'clock. I follow the same rule to this day. Finally, my favorite time of the day, 5 to 7 or 4:30 to 6:30 or 5:30 to 8 or whatever time is comfortable for you, showtime. Okay, this is the third part of the day. Showtime. This is reserved for buyer consultations and listing presentations. When I say showtime, I'm not talking about showing homes. Now, if you want to go from selling 0 homes to 20, you could show homes during this time. But if you're already at 20, 30, 40 transactions and you want to go to 70, 80, 100, you can't show homes during this time. You have to leverage your showing activity to a showing agent and only do buyer consultations, which is an opportunity for you to get in front of a buyer and present to them, and hopefully they work with you, or a listing presentation, which is going and presenting to a seller. So I'm reserving the 4:30 to 7, 5 to 7, 5 to 7:30, whatever it is, depending on your schedule, for showtime. And if I don't have any appointments, I'm going door knocking. If I don't have any appointments, I'm going and visiting the couple hottest expireds of the day or the 3 best for sale by owners. Why? Because it's already in my schedule that I was going to be on Showtime. So why wouldn't I go out and present to somebody, at least knock on their door and get face-to-face with someone? I'm already suited up, ready to go, right? So I always had the mindset that this is what I was doing no matter what. Okay, so there you have it. There's the morning, there's the afternoon, and then there's showtime. Finally, Saturday. I'll finish with Saturday. Hands down, Saturday is the absolute best day to go on appointments, okay? Your chances of getting contracts signed on a Saturday are better than any other day. There's so many reasons for it, right? They're less stressed. They want to check a chore off the list. I love Saturdays because there's not as much traffic. People are in friendlier moods. They're offering you coffee. It's just it's a better experience all around. You're more likely to get contract signed on Saturday than any other day of the week. Now, I'm not encouraging you, if you're talking to somebody on a Monday, to make them wait until Saturday, right? If you're talking to someone on Monday, you're probably going to meet with them Tuesday or Wednesday. But if I'm talking to someone on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, you better believe we're doing everything we can to push that appointment to Saturday. For years and years, I had a simple rule, and even still to this day, I don't go on as many on Saturdays, but I still follow the similar rule, and that is I want a 9 o'clock, a 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, a 12 o'clock, a 1 o'clock, and a 2 o'clock. I want 6 appointments. And I want them all back to back. And remember, they're all 1 hour windows, because sometimes you get contract signed, sometimes you don't, right? So my 10 o'clock appointment, for instance, would be between 10 and 11, right? My 11 o'clock appointment would be between 11 and 12. So I allowed myself drive time and allowed myself time to get contract signed. Today, for instance, this past weekend, I had a 11 o'clock, a 12 o'clock, a 1 o'clock, right? So that was only 3. So I wasn't that excited about it, but it was still a good day. I like to have at least 4 or 5 on a Saturday. All right, so follow the Saturday rule, schedule them back to back, do them in the morning, and then, by the way, 2:30, 3 o'clock rolls around on a Saturday, I'm done. I'm closed, I'm shut off for the weekend. I reopen, as you saw, at 8 a.m. on Monday. So that means any offers that come in, anything that takes place between 3 p.m. and 8 a.m. on Monday, they're not going to hear from me. Why? Because I'm closed. My philosophy has always been this: if I'm going to bust my butt for 5.5 days a week, sometimes 6 if I'm working a longer day on Saturday. If I'm going to bust my butt for 5.5 or 6 days a week, then gosh darn it, I deserve a day and a half off. And that's been my mentality for years and years. So I don't respond to anything on Sundays. Do I lose a few clients from time to time? Absolutely. But I also do a few hundred more transactions because of that mentality, because I'm sharper and I'm more engaged when I show up on Monday at 8 a.m. versus a lot of the competitors. They show up at Monday at 8 a.m. Oh, what'd you do all weekend? I had open houses, I had this, and they're checked out. They're tired, right? I don't want to be tired on Monday. I want to be mentally refreshed and ready to go. So there you have it, step 1 of 7 steps to 100. I'm so excited to share step 2 with you next Monday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Invite your friends. Let's get a bunch of people watching this. Thanks for joining me today. Follow us on Glover U. We'll see you guys later. Have a good day.